Wave after wave of layoffs are hitting the U.S. labor market. Day after day, we hear stories of layoffs of hundreds, of thousands, of tens of thousands of people, just like you and me, who are losing their jobs.
Amazon, Ford, Pepsi, and more from Amazon. These are just a few of the companies that have said they were starting big layoffs in the last year.
And it's not just no experience necessary, the first to hire, the first to go kind of people. It's middle management, it's C-suite jobs, it's people with careers and experience and families and responsibilities and mortgages and debts. Yes, it's people just like you who are losing their jobs because things are out of control in the economy.
Some job cuts are expected when the economy hits a rough patch. But this is different. Not because of the number of people being laid off, but because of who.
We're seeing a really unusual situation where white-collar workers, professionals, are being laid off in greater numbers relative to the rest of the workforce.
It's disrupting not just jobs that you can take or leave, but careers, things that you build up experience in, that you develop some professional skills in, that you're recognized as someone who has a skill set and standing and experience and real-world experience that you can add value to a company. And they're saying, bye-bye, don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Ever since this wave of job cuts started last year, experts have said that this downturn could spell trouble for professional workers.
This recession is going to be really bad, not only for white-collar workers, but white Patagonia vested workers.
And if it hasn't hit your sector of the economy yet, it will soon. There are just a few, maybe, sectors in today's economy that will get through the recession, get through the inflation, get through all of the struggles we're having today without layoffs hitting your profession. Now, I did a video recently on what it's like to get fired and how to get ready to get fired. I'll tag it at the end of this video. But I got in response to that a lot of questions, and they said, but I haven't gotten fired, I got laid off. Can you tell me how to survive getting laid off? I've been laid off and I survived it, so here goes. Let's take a look at what it's like to get laid off, who's laying off, how to survive a layoff, and how to turn it into something that actually works for you and for a change. So tap the like button and let's take a look. Hi, I'm James Callahan, and this is the Do-Over Show. And most of us are hearing about layoffs, for example, in FANG, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, and Netflix, and Google, now Alphabet, FANG, and we look at that and we say, yeah, all those people with all those tech jobs that make so much money, they call themselves engineers of everything. Yeah, we don't feel bad about them because they were overpaid for too long and it's about time that the market corrected. But that's not the only group of people who are getting laid off. Yeah.
When the first round of layoffs happened back in November, the 13% cuts of the workforce, employees got the sense that this wasn't the end. Wall Street loved it. And when Zuckerberg started out talking about the company's performance this year, he named it the year of efficiency. And again, the shares popped and said he was going to do more cuts.
When we hear of all those high-paying, high-flying jobs in Silicon Valley, on the coast, people who are getting laid off, we experience we sort of enjoy it. We look at it and we say, it's what the Germans call schadenfreude. Yeah, schadenfreude is when we feel a sense of satisfaction when people that we don't exactly appreciate have something bad happen to them. The Germans have a word for everything. But how does it feel when you get that meeting invitation from your boss and the only other person involved is somebody from HR? Or you get the tap on your shoulder saying, can we talk? Layoffs are different than being fired. Just a little different, but you're still unemployed. You still lack an opportunity to make money and income, and you still have to look for a new job. But most of us think that getting laid off is a nicer, gentler way of saying, it wasn't me, it was the economy. Ooh, that rhymes. It wasn't me, it was the economy. That's supposed to make being unemployed feel better? Well, we take small consolation in it, and yes, calling it a layoff makes us feel better about ourselves because then we're not to blame. We weren't dismissed for cause. That is, we didn't do something so bad or not do something that turned out to be so bad that they said, you know what, we can do without you. Goodbye. And most of us think, well, it's easier to get another job if you were laid off because you get to blame the economy and you don't have to bear that burden. And that used to be the case. Used to be. But first and foremost, getting laid off is exactly the same as being fired when it comes to you and your situation. Now, all the promises they make, like, well, if the economy turns around or if our sector turns around, then we want to hire you back first, so hang on, is just a consolation prize so that HR or your boss doesn't feel as bad about letting someone who's good at what you do, like you, let you go. Now, one of the most common features of a layoff that differs from being fired is that there's a compensation or a severance package associated with it.
The laid-off employees will receive severance pay equal to 4 weeks, plus 1 additional week for every year of service and a payout of vacation days.
Sometimes it has to do with how long you were in the job and they pay you for the number of weeks per year or some metric like that the company decides. And that's usually for an exempt position. That is, you're not paid by the hour, you're paid by a salary. And that also means that maybe you'll get information in the severance package of not only how long you'll be paid. By the way, they'll never pay it in a lump sum. It'll be in every pay period. They're not going to lay out that money up front. And that's going to mean to delay, hopefully delay, and they're going to ask you, hey, can you delay filing for unemployment insurance, UI benefits? Because they have to pay into that, and it takes a hit for them if they fire all these people or lay off a bunch of people. It costs them a little more money. And they'll say, you know, we're going to pay you for 12 weeks, so wait 12 weeks, when most state unemployment offices make you wait just a couple weeks or a month before you file for unemployment. They'll also give you maybe an extension of insurance coverage for a period of time, and they'll give you information about COBRA, you know, that in-between coverage that's really expensive that you pay out of pocket to maintain health insurance, especially if you are somebody utilizing or somebody on your plan is utilizing health insurance. That's a difficult hit, and you're going to want to know about COBRA. But also involved in that, also, if you're an exempt employee, will be PTO, unused vacation time, sick days, and that's determined by the policy of the company. And the more generous they are with you, you think, well, they're being nice to me. They fired you. They feel bad about it. They're trying to maintain their reputation. Why? Because if they just lay everybody off and don't give you any compensation or severance package, that's going to spread and everybody's going to know it in the industry. And when it comes to hiring time again, or when they want to hire top quality talent like you who were laid off, do you think you're going to go and apply for a company that if things turn bad, you're the first to get the boot? No. They're going to look for companies that treat their employees well, even when things aren't going well. By the way, there's a backstory to this whole issue of layoffs, and that is the companies who are laying off, who are usually not reacting to a bad economy, but anticipating a drawdown on their income or on their revenue over the next few years. That is, they're front running it, which means they don't lack money now, most of them. If they do lack money now, then they're dumb and they didn't see it coming, and everybody else saw it coming. But most companies are trying to extend their runway so that they're able to survive an economic downturn, a recession, the impact on inflation, or on what the goods or services they provide, the cutback that others are experiencing that's impacting your business, your sector, your company. And that tells you something about your company. If they're too dumb to see it coming, then do you really want to work for a company that just cuts you off because they're not smart enough to look at the economy to judge which way the wind is blowing? Yeah, you need to look for another company anyway. Now, I've been laid off and I've been told, please delay filing for unemployment benefits, even though it's insurance, that's part of the employment agreement that they've paid into. That's like saying, my house burned down, but I'm not going to file an insurance claim because I feel bad about the people that started the fire. No. First of all, an employer can ask, but they can't prevent you from filing for unemployment benefits, no matter what the compensation package is with your employer. You are no longer employed. That triggers unemployment benefits. Even if you're getting paychecks for the next 8, 12, 16 weeks, you're still unemployed according to state unemployment office guidelines. And therefore, check with your state, but they can't prevent you from filing an unemployment claim. Now, unemployment is not going to keep you in your house. It's not going to make you feel better. You're not going to make a lot of money. It's limited to a ratio of your income. And that means you've got to get yourself ready for things that are coming. You've got to get yourself prepared. That's the video that I did about get ready to get fired that I'll tag at the end of this video. And there are some steps there, but I want to tell you more about what it means for you if you are laid off. So be sure to ask about extending insurance benefits. Be sure to ask about PTO and unused vacation time or sick days. Yes, be sure to ask about all of that because it's something that an employer that's laying you off will have an idea of. Don't leave that on the table. Make sure you bring it up. I know you sat down in the room and you've been blindsided. There's your boss and there's somebody from HR and they say, do you have any questions? And you say, That's the time to be prepared and to ask, what about my vacation time? What about my PTO? What about insurance? So who is being laid off today? Now this is more of a morbid curiosity about how everybody's suffering and more schadenfreude. This is about anticipating what's going to impact your business, your market, your region, your sector of the workplace and of the business cycle. This is about knowing what's coming your way, the thing that you hope your employer sees, but you want to see as well. They're not going to tell you this. But they're going to tell you, if you look and you see other companies, maybe your competitors, your peers in the market, and they start to slow down, their revenue becomes lackluster. If you follow reporting, quarterly reporting from publicly traded companies, listen for what they're seeing ahead in the business cycle and anticipate that that's going to impact you, your company, and your job. So who's actually doing the layoffs today? Well, the answer is just about everyone, and it's starting to impact not just the people with low experience or no experience necessary, but it's also starting to affect middle management, famous companies, companies in the Midwest, in the upper Midwest, in the heartland, in the plain states. It's affecting everyone, not just tech. And it means that there is a widespread phenomenon. You see, employers cover their you-know-whats. When other people are laying off, they look at it as an opportunity. So if someone in your sector starts to lay off, in your business, in your field, starts to lay off people, your boss, your CEO, your company, your board is probably looking at that and saying, wow, this is our opportunity to cut back on labor costs. Now, the numbers of hundreds of thousands, that's important for TV and the economy and news. But the real thing you want to look for is your sector, your business, your region, and if it's impacting you or people who are in positions like the one you have now. Those are the numbers that really matter to you. Now, if you see it coming, this is a time when you have to decide, am I going to just brace for the inevitable or am I going to take the initiative? Am I going to add a skill or am I going to start to do more work? So the quiet quitting is over and quiet promoting is being, well, a little more embraced, that you're willing to take on tasks as there are cutbacks. If you want to keep your job, sometimes that quiet promoting where you get paid the same but you're asked to do more is going to be the inevitable experience of this tough season of layoffs. Now, you can also take advantage of this, take the initiative, when you can start to ask to take things off your boss's plate. That is to start to do things that your boss is associated with. They're not going to lose their job until they fire you, until they lay you off. But in the meantime, you can show that you are more on their side, more valuable to them. Now, it won't convince somebody that just has to wholesale cut a department or cut back. But it gives you a chance, if you really, really want to stay in that job and ride out the layoffs that are coming, then that is one opportunity that you can take advantage of, that you actually do more for this period of time. And while you're doing it, make sure you add it to your resume, because after the layoffs are done and the market eases a little bit, you're going to want to go to another job and say, I can do that job at another place for more money, or be the boss yourself. This whole scenario is like the story of being chased by a lion or a bear. You don't have to be the fastest person on earth. You just have to be faster than the slowest person in order to survive it. I know, harsh example, but that's the way it is in the layoff world today. So here are the basics of surviving a layoff today, and I've got 5 important things that you need to do. The first one is update your resume. Collect and save your work so that you retain it, because when they show you the door, they're going to take anything that you have there, and you need to prepare for that. So get your resume updated, add the skill set, add the responsibilities, your successes that you have, but also save the work that you have an example of so that you have some numbers and metrics, because more and more resumes that include metrics are important to HR and to hiring. Why? Because they want results. They don't want just good people. They want people who can produce, especially in a layoff culture. They want to know that their investment in you is going to have a return, ROI, and you get to show that because you've saved your work. The second thing is you need to start networking in your field. Yes, in your field, at events, not just within your office, but among your peers, and especially on LinkedIn. Put yourself out there. Change your description from your job title to your capacity and your skill set. That's an important LinkedIn tip. But also make sure that you begin to build relationships before you have to take advantage of those relationships, or you seem so desperate that they smell it coming. The third thing to do is, before you're laid off, is to start looking for a job, because I know it sounds funny, but it's true. It's always easier to find a job when you already have a job than it is to find a job when you're desperate and you're unemployed. The fourth thing in surviving a layoff is, don't be fooled. Laid off means fired. No matter what promises they make. That means, although we make small consolation in that, well, I was laid off because it wasn't my fault, I'm a wonderful employee. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Everybody else that's laid off tells the same story, sings the same song. And that means that you have to get over this idea that your next job has to be perfect or equal to the job that you got laid off from. By the way, if you were laid off in a sector that's experiencing an economic downturn, do you think there are jobs like that available? No. That means that it's going to be tough to get the same kind of job, which means take a job that's offered to you, especially if you need the money. Take a job for a short-term time. Now, it used to be that I didn't want to take a job for 3 months, quit, and go back to another job or a better job because it looked bad. You don't have to include it on your resume. You can just say, I was laid off. You don't have to tell them what you were doing for the last 3 months, flipping burgers, whatever it is, driving for Uber. You don't have to put that down on your resume. You can say, I was laid off from this company. I'm interviewing for a job here. You don't have to tell them everything. And work gaps are much more common since, yes, you know, the pandemic, and you don't have to stress as much about those work gaps. And 5, surviving a layoff is, watch your money. Don't spend on things you don't need to spend. And if you see a layoff coming, stop spending. Cut back on not just luxuries, but on basics. Learn to live on less. Save money back. Don't take wild flyers on penny stocks or chase crypto or be safe. Know that the market, so even if you're not laid off and you've held back that money and you've lived an austere lifestyle because you've seen layoffs coming and the layoff never hits, what are you going to do with all that money that you've saved? Yeah, you're in a better position. Bonus! You've given yourself a bonus. Congratulations. Don't spend money if you see a layoff coming. Save, damn it. Now, there's a lot of stress, not only in being fired, but being laid off. And you're going to have to deal with it. But you don't have to live with it. You can take a little consolation in that it wasn't your fault, but it still doesn't pay the bills. It still doesn't give you something to do that's good and meaningful and can advance your career personally and professionally. So you're going to have to deal with it, but you don't have to live with it. If you need help getting through it, find the help that you need. It is available to you. Sometimes it's offered by your employer, where they have an HR consultant that will talk you through surviving layoffs or looking at your personal situation. Or if you know somebody who has been laid off, or you find a video like this and you say, I'm really struggling with being laid off. How am I supposed to make sense of this? And how am I supposed to sleep at night if I've been laid off? Because there's no difference in being laid off and being fired. It's just as bad, even though it might be everybody, it still doesn't make it any easier. And being laid off gives you freedom. Freedom to try new things, to branch out, to use your transferable skills in another career. Oh my goodness, transferable skills in an economy with ups and downs and with so many people changing their jobs so often, transferable skills are the thing that you need more than anything else to show that not just you can do this work in one career, but you can turn it into another career, to leverage it to your advantage, to advance your career aspirations and goals, to set new goals. You've been given a gift, freedom from that old job that just confined you to one niche. And now you can explore and take an opportunity, because more and more employers are looking for people who have experience, who are ready to learn, take on new challenges, and move into new fields that didn't exist a few years ago. Yeah, that can be you. And in the meantime, give yourself a break. Yes, give yourself a break. You're living and dealing with a lot. Give yourself time, if you've got time and the money, to give yourself some time, even if you're not rushing out on Monday after the Friday you were laid off, looking for another job at McDonald's. Whatever it is, if you've got time, take it. If you don't get yourself some time, at least give yourself a break. Do take some consolation that it's not just you, that you didn't do anything wrong, that it's something that's beyond your control, but that also means that you have to be creative. Yeah, if it's something that's so big, systemic, and beyond your control because it's the whole economy, then you're not going to be able to change it. So you're going to have to create a new opportunity. Give yourself the time and the room, the space, the emotional and mental capital that it takes to think differently about the work that you do in your life and your career. And thanks for being part of the Do-Over Show. Please, could you tap the like button? Because it really helps. And while you're down there, how about you subscribe and ring the notifications bell so you don't miss the next episode. I'm so glad you found me, and I found you. Thanks.